And I think sometimes when people start to feel burnout, things like meal prepping or cooking healthy meals kind of get put on the back burner, and then that makes the problem even worse. So for a lot of people, just making small changes is probably the best thing that they can do, just because if we make enough small changes, that's what makes a huge impact in the end.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Coffee Break Podcast. Our mission here is to provide business ideas, practices, and strategies while we enjoy our cup of coffee. Today, we're going to be talking with Dahlia Gordon, but before we get into that, I do want to remind you, this is actually a very valuable episode, and I want to encourage you to share it with somebody. Wherever you're listening or watching to this, go ahead and hit the share icon or send a link to somebody that you know. We're going to be talking about how nutrition plays into the workplace and things that you can do to improve your immune system as people are going back to work. Very practical information today with our guest, Dahlia Gordon. She is a nutritionist, and she's been a guest on the podcast before, but a lot of valuable information. So get ready for this conversation. But in the meantime, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, because we have a brand new episode every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. And you can do that by visiting our website. It's Loc-Doc.net/podcast. All the links to the subscription platforms are there, whatever podcast platform you enjoy watching or listening on, as well as our Facebook and YouTube links, so you can get a hold of everything there. So make sure you go check that out, Loc-Doc.net/podcast. In the meantime, grab a cup of coffee and get ready for this conversation on nutrition with Dahlia Gordon.
We got so much to say. We got a podcast to make. We're sipping on lattes, and it's time for a coffee break. It's time for a coffee break. Oh, yeah.
All right, welcome back.
Thank you.
Is this your third time or second time?
This is my second time. I did a team meeting with you guys.
Oh,
too.
yeah. I feel like, yes. Yeah, because you sat at this exact same desk, and we had a whole thing.
Yep.
All right, Dahlia Gordon, thank you for being here today. I'm excited, jacked up. We're going to be talking about nutrition.
Yep.
And how great coffee is for you.
Yes.
And all things nutrition. But anyway, we'll talk about that in just a few moments. But first, it's rapid fire. 5 randomly selected questions just to get under your skin with unknown point values.
All right.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Number 1, what is your dream concert lineup? You could go to any concert and just create the entire bill. Who would it be?
Okay, I always love Dave Matthews Band concerts. They're just good energy, and they're always a lot of fun. I would like to see Florence and the Machine. Nothing has come out from her for a long time. That would be a good one. And then probably Glass Animals and Portugal the Man.
Okay. I don't know the other two that you just mentioned, but that sounds great.
Yep.
All right. And you were ready to go with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thinking on my feet.
I don't even know who. It's been so long since I've been to a concert or even thought about a concert. I don't even know where I'd want to go. It'd be, yeah. All right. Number 2, what is the most unusual thing you've ever eaten?
I would have to say, and I forget what the actual word for it is, but cow intestines. And I did not like them.
I mean, why would you not like cow intestines? It just seems so pleasant.
Yeah, the smell of it is not good, and it tastes exactly how it smells. So, and then the texture doesn't help it either.
The entire experience was just horrible.
Yes.
Okay, so I just want to unpack that real quick. In what setting would you be presented with cow intestines?
So I worked at a child rescue center in Kenya, and so they would slaughter their own animals and then eat all of the meat from it. Mm-hmm. And it's a little bit rude to not eat what is served. So
I follow that now. I'm just what restaurant would you go to that this was presented up to you? And it was,
I would not go to a restaurant and order that.
That on the menu.
Yep.
All right, number 3. What is? Okay. Number 3. What is one movie that you think everybody should see?
One movie, I would say Stand By Me. It's an older movie. Mm-hmm. Have you seen it?
No. Well, I may have seen the beginning of it. There's not many movies that I've seen the entirety of.
Okay. So Stand By Me, it's about 4 kids that are friends, and they go on this mission to basically find a body. But the moral of the whole movie is just about like friendship and how important it is.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's a feel-good movie.
Sounds great.
Yep.
I'll watch the beginning of it, and then I'll fall asleep.
Yeah.
All right. Number 4, what's something that you accomplished this week?
Ooh, something that I accomplished. I did some meal prep on Sunday.
Yeah?
For the week. Yep.
What kind of meals did you prep? Now, this would be an interesting question. This is not count against the 5, though. Just this is a subset.
Okay, so I prepped some burrito bowls. So those are like the easiest thing to prep because they don't take that long.
The what?
Burrito bowls.
What is that?
Kind of like a Chipotle bowl.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Oh,
just
burrito bowl. Oh,
Yep,
okay. Oh, gotcha.
yep. And then some, what did I do for breakfast? Oh, I make little smoothie bags with like the fruit and some chia and flax seeds
Yep.
and then protein powder, and I keep them in the freezer. That way when I'm in a hurry, I can just throw it in the blender with some almond milk.
Now, what do you
Blend it.
prep for dinner? Do you do dinner prep, or is that just lunch? and breakfast?
Usually I cook for dinner.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Let's see. And last question here. Number 5. What is one fun thing that you would do with $1 million?
Ooh, I would have to say travel, and especially since we haven't been able to travel a lot this past year. Yeah.
Where are you headed?
I would go to, I want to try to hit every continent, maybe not Antarctica, because I don't know that there's a whole lot out there.
Yeah.
So maybe Asia or where else have I not been? Australia. Yeah.
That would be fun. It's a
Yes.
long travel to get there, but I've seen a lot of interesting videos. It would be a fun experience. There's a travel couple that I watch on YouTube regularly, and they went to Antarctica.
Oh, yeah?
It looked cold.
Yeah.
It was. I was like, I mean, it was an experience, and it was on like a cruise or something like that.
Okay.
I think the travel to get down, to get on the boat, to get on the deal was probably more of the exciting journey. But it just every time they were going to go outside of the actual boat, they had to put on like 17 layers, and it just
Yeah, so maybe I won't go to Antarctica.
it didn't seem like like. All right, well, that'll be fun. Okay, cool. Congratulations, you passed. So we'll give you a score. Let's see, magic score 892. So
All right.
good work. All right, so we're going to be talking about nutrition today, nutrition and productivity as it relates to business. So, someone may say, I thought this podcast was about business ideas, practices, and strategies. And so how do you correlate nutrition and productivity, nutrition and business practices? How do those two things go together?
So there's 3 big things that nutrition can do for a company. One of them is cost savings. Another one is employee satisfaction. And the third thing is productivity.
So cost savings, employee satisfaction, and productivity. Now, I know you caught a lot of people's attention by just saying cost savings, because that's something that people pay attention to. So how is it a cost savings endeavor for nutrition?
So a RAND study looked at the return on investment for nutrition and wellness programs in the workplace, and there's a 6-to-1 return on investment. And a lot of this is because of decreasing the risk of chronic diseases. So it keeps people at work, it keeps medical bills down, and it keeps employee turnover pretty low.
We had we're actually in the midst of looking at our renewal for our health care, and it's a significant jump this year. So I can definitely correlate directly to that if you had the ability to help with that process. So a 6-to-1 return on investment. So what are some ways that, an employer, what's some ways that Loc-Doc Security or anybody else that would be watching this that could say, okay, this is how we can help invest in nutrition?
So the awesome thing is a lot of insurance policies have nutrition education from a registered dietitian already in their plan.
Okay.
And so just connecting with a local dietitian or a company like Total Nutrition Technology to have that point person and to help with the nutrition education aspect, and also just educating people on how to eat healthier and how to be healthier. when it's in your insurance policy, you're already paying for it.
Yeah.
So just making it more accessible to your employees.
But and I'm going to play devil's advocate here a little bit, and maybe just sound like a crazy question. But why do I need a nutritionist? I mean, to eat healthier, I just need to eat salad, right? Like I ate salad at lunch, and now I'm healthy.
Yeah. So if you do like a Google of best diets, guess how many results come up?
I have no clue. I would never Google that. So
Okay. So the results come up with like, I think it was 580 million results.
okay,
And people Google this all the time.
and they're
because-
all the best.
Yes. Well, whoever wrote it, they think
so
that's the
subjective,
best.
yeah.
Yes. So people are obviously interested in having a healthier diet and being healthier. The problem with that is nutrition isn't like a one-size-fits-all thing. And so two people can be on the exact same diet, and one might be having great results from it, and one might not be.
Sure.
And so working with a registered dietitian or a healthcare professional can help. It can help employees figure out what the best diet for them is and personalize it.
So working through that, and even working through the family, like kind of family meal planning as well, I could see a lot of value in that. So sitting down, understanding it's not just a one size fits all, nutrition plan or meal plan or anything. It's understanding the individual and kind
Right.
of their activities, their behaviors, and all that. It was interesting, and just to kind of bring in context, which a couple of podcast episodes ago we did a whole kind of breakdown on a water challenge that we're currently doing.
Yeah.
Which by the time this airs, hopefully it'll be over with. But we're doing a water challenge for the month of July, and we were talking about it, and somebody brought up a concept that they had read some other report that said, if you are a sedentary employee, which you're not active in the field, then you should drink less water because it could, so not to debate that topic, but the point, I guess, was we're applying a water challenge across the board to everybody, but every person is utilizing it different.
Right.
So, I bring that up to say the importance of understanding the individual and how that's going to work for them. So with that, what does that process typically look like from a employer standpoint? So again, an employer, we can set up and say, okay, it's part of your insurance program, part of your healthcare insurance program, and here's somebody that we would recommend, and you can come in and meet with our staff and introduce yourself and all that. How do we help with it further than that? Is that all we can do, or is there other ways that we can make that a benefit for our employees?
Yeah, so for a lot of companies, what they do is they have a day that one of us comes into the office, to their office, so it's on site.
Okay.
And we do like nutrition assessments. And so it's just basically a meeting with the employee to learn a little bit about their health history, what their goals are, and how we can help them reach their goals. And I think that having someone on site makes it just that much more accessible because you don't really have to leave the workplace. It doesn't take a lot of time out of your day, and it's not like one extra thing that you have to do.
So you could schedule a time or set up with a good nutritionist company. Is that did I say that correctly?
Yeah,
Okay.
a good nutrition company.
Okay,
Yep.
good nutrition company. You would be able to coordinate and say, okay, is it like a monthly meeting or is it just a one time?
Yeah, so for some companies, and it just really depends on their needs, we can do weekly or biweekly and be
Okay.
on site.
wow.
And with telehealth now, since COVID, that's
Yeah.
made things a lot easier, so that is another option.
There's a wise man that I know that says, make it easy to do the right thing and difficult to do the wrong thing. So
Yeah,
having somebody
that.
there on site and saying, hey, schedule your time, slot your time, we'll make it available for you, makes it easy to move in that direction, where if you put all of the effort on that individual, they may not take it up.
Right.
Okay, so finding additional ways to say, hey, here, we're going to allow you to have time with this nutritionist on site during the middle of the workday to start this plan is another way to help to push that along.
Yes.
Okay. What are some other ways that can be?
So I think doing challenges like you guys are doing with the water challenge is a great way to get people involved in like thinking about their health. And most people like a little healthy competition. So I think that helps.
Yeah.
And then what managers can do is also, listen to what their employees need as far as nutrition and health go and what their concerns are. And either, if it's an easy fix, like, okay, we need a water jug at the office or whatever it is. That's something that you guys can do. If it's something a little bit more complicated, then just talking to your on-site dietitian about other ways to kind of meet those needs.
Yeah, that's a valid point. I never really thought about it that way. We, a long time ago, used to provide bottled water, and it was just a nonstop going to the store buying cases of bottled water, and then you would walk around and there would be 42 half-drink bottles of water. So we went to a filtered water machine a couple of years ago, and then we changed it out recently and got one that had ice. There's an ice machine in it as well as water, and I was like, I mean, who wants ice? It's just not really. And people are in there all the time filling up their cups with water and ice. Like that's a big thing.
Yeah.
So just even that is encouraging people, and everybody's carrying around their big water jug. I've got mine on the floor down here, but they carry around their big water jug and refill it multiple times throughout the day rather than just grabbing a bottle of water that they're not finishing. So those types of things. It's very interesting. Okay, so again, you're talking about a big return on investment by making it a priority. We've got the water challenge going on. Have you heard of any other companies that have done, because we did a weight loss challenge years ago, and we had some mild success with it, but it was not an equal playing field for everybody.
Right.
Have you heard some other creative challenges that you said, hey, this seems like it would work well, or ways to implement that?
Yeah, so I think that like step challenges, those are easy, and people are getting more active, which is always good for your health. Fruit and vegetable challenges, so how many fruits and vegetables do you eat each day? Okay. And then another one that I think that is overlooked is our mental health, and it has a lot to do with our overall health. So doing like a daily meditation or daily gratitude challenge and kind of checking that off the list every day.
That's interesting. A daily gratitude challenge.
Yeah.
So I was showing you some of the report that we have with our water challenge. So flipping it around like that, where you would have to post a daily gratitude.
Yeah.
So there was one that I'd heard about. Actually, it was kind of an idea kicking around, and hopefully I'm not blowing any surprises, but it was a possibility to do a reduction of sugar intake challenge.
Yeah.
And so that may be something, I don't know, we might could toss some of the parameters around to you later on to see if it kind of how to structure it.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So some challenges like that to encourage that, move it in the right direction, get people all on that same boat. And I would imagine it reduces sick time, and there's a lot of other things that are a good benefit of that.
Yep.
Okay. So outside of that, how does health and nutrition, or how does nutrition specifically play into burnout? So, going for long periods of time, just working nonstop. You talked about mental health. I would imagine all of that stuff kind of culminates into what is felt as burnout.
Yeah, so when we think about food and nutrition, we can think of it as our fuel every day. And not everyone thinks of it that way, but that's really what food does for our body. It fuels us physically, but also us mentally. And I think sometimes when people start to feel burnout, things like meal prepping or cooking healthy meals kind of get put on the back burner, and then that makes the problem even worse. And so when we think about plants especially, there's phytochemicals, which are basically just plant chemicals, and they help do a lot of different things in our bodies, and especially for our brains. And so it can reduce inflammation, it can help with repair of cells, and then just thinking about how connected our gut and our brain are. If we're not getting those healthy foods in, there's messages that are being sent from our gut to our brain through something called the gut-brain axis. And if our gut is under distress, then it can send distressed messages to our brain. So if we're giving our bodies healthy foods that have fiber and those plant chemicals in a good balanced diet, that can actually help our brain produce more of our happy neurotransmitters.
We understand the frustrations HOA board members and property managers face when deciding the best solution for their HOA and pool security. Should we use a keypad, hand out keys, or install a key card system? Do we even need cameras? These are some of the questions that are difficult to navigate, and we're here to help. At Loc-Doc Security, we've spent over 20 years working with homeowners associations and property managers to find the system that best fits the pool and HOA needs. Camera systems for the front gate or front entrance, key card systems for the pool gates, or simply updating the gate so that it meets safety and code compliance. We like to take the guesswork out of the process to answer any questions and help find the right solution. Our mission is to help you protect your people and your property, and that includes pools. Contact our team today to schedule your free consultation for your community. So I've talked to you about this before, and hopefully I'm not going too far off track, but oftentimes I feel like some of the food that I eat, or maybe too much food that I intake, also creates a little, I don't know what the correct term would be. I feel a little lethargic, maybe mental sludge. I'm not thinking as clearly. How does like a reset? How does that play into this as well? Maybe you have been on a certain type of a diet. Maybe it's not well balanced, and so now you've got to kind of look at a reset and kind of restructuring that. How does that play in? Or I know intermittent fasting is kind of a hot topic where a lot of people are. I was having a conversation with somebody a couple of weeks ago, and they were like, "Yeah, I'm doing this intermittent fasting where I only eat between these certain hours and all stuff." And I was like, "Oh, that's intriguing." How are you seeing those types of things play into the overall nutrition concept?
So there's a new type of fasting that research has just proven to be very helpful, especially when we think about that reset. Our body doesn't necessarily need a reset because that's what our organs do, especially our liver. It helps like detox, and our bodies are pretty good at that. Yeah. But this new fasting mimicking diet, it's basically puts your body low enough that your cells can start to rejuvenate, but you're still eating through it. Okay. Research on that has been pretty interesting just because of, it's called autophagy, that cellular rejuvenation. But as far as like anyone doing like a reset, thinking about what is going to work for you and also what's going to be sustainable. So if you're going to do a reset and then go back to eating junk food, I don't really know if that's beneficial. So for a lot of people, just making small changes is probably the best thing that they can do, just because if we make enough small changes, that's what makes a huge impact in the end.
And one of the things I've picked up from hearing you speak multiple times is everything is dependent on on the individual. It's and I think that's an important thing to underline, because oftentimes people, like you said, read about this particular diet or do this, and then it's, well, I'm going to do that. And if it's the wrong diet for you, for that individual, then it's not going to get any good results. It's just going to cause more chaos. So understanding the individual nature of it, and I'm starting to process the more importance of it, because I've heard you say it. Yeah. You hesitate to give an across the board. This is the way to do it. It's very much specific to that individual. Right. Is there anything that I'm missing on that, or anything to highlight underneath that? If anybody's watching or listening going, I don't, but my friend said that this is the best new diet, or this has worked for them. Yeah, so I think that just like across the board, something that's super helpful is for people to try to focus on whole foods. So things like whole grains, our fruits and vegetables, foods that aren't like highly processed or have preservatives or other food additives in them. We were designed to eat food and eat natural things, and we're not really designed to break down chemicals and preservatives. So like across the board, I think that that's one thing that I can recommend to everyone. Whole foods. Yep. Chew on some grass. Maybe not grass. But the whole foods thing, paying attention to the ingredients, I think is really, if I've picked up anything over the last several years, it's when you're buying anything from the store, it's looking at the back and seeing what's inside. And if it starts to be difficult to read, then it's like, maybe I don't want to deal with that.
Yes, and that is a great tool to use. And it's something that I recommend people doing is like if you can't read the ingredients on the back of the list, maybe you shouldn't be eating it.
Yeah. All right. So I want to circle back to the burnout section because I don't know that I really that we really settled on that. So from burnout or preventing burnout, how does nutrition play into that? How do even in organizations that I can see that in my team going, hey, this is definitely becoming a problem. And there's a direct correlation between nutrition and just the way that you're, the way things are going for you right now.
Yeah, so we can think about it in terms of like individual macronutrients. So you were saying earlier that sometimes you eat something and you feel a little bit sluggish after.
Yep.
So one example would be if we look at fat. Fat is energy dense and it keeps us full and it does give us energy. But when we think about what our body has to do to break down that fat and to process it, that takes a lot of energy. And so that's energy that our digestive tract is using and is not necessarily readily available for our body or our brain. And with carbs, for whatever reason, breakfasts a lot of times tend to be carb heavy. And carbs give us energy, but if it's not the right types of carbs, say it's like simple carbs like sugary cereal or donuts or white bread or bagels, yes, we get energy from it, but since we don't have the fiber in there to prolong how long it's actually in our system, our blood sugar will spike and then it'll drop and then we're back in the same place that we started.
So again, going back to the individual understanding of what is the best thing to fuel your body at the beginning of the day, middle of the day, end of the day type thing.
Yes. And so the best thing that you can do is try to focus on like everything being balanced, especially for breakfast. I think if you can start your day off on the right foot with nutrition, it makes it easier throughout the day because you're feeling better. And so when we think about macronutrients, which are carbs, proteins, and fats, those are the only things that we get calories from. If we can put together a breakfast that has all three of those things in it, it's going to give us the protein that we need to use as building blocks, the carbs for energy, and then the fat for all of the other little things that it does in our bodies. So some examples of this could be like Greek yogurt with some chia seeds or flax seeds on it, maybe a smoothie with fruit, protein powder, the chia or flax seeds or some type of fat. Peanut butter would be another good example. Even a piece of like whole grain toast and eggs will hit all of those boxes.
So the chia seeds, though, just make sure that after you eat that, you check because they get stuck in your teeth.
Yes.
Especially for breakfast. That's just...
Yeah, that's why I like flax seeds a little bit better.
So one of the things that I have been testing out over the last couple of months, I switched. I used to wake up in the morning, 5 o'clock, stumble into the kitchen. It sounds like the start of a song. Anyways, and then make a fresh cup of coffee. Bam. A little cream, a little half and half. That was the way I started my day. And then I proceeded to, massive amounts of coffee intake throughout the day.
Yeah.
So I changed that over the last couple of months where I actually wake up and I drink water at the beginning of the day, and I don't actually drink my first cup of coffee until I get to the office.
Okay.
And I have not seen a dramatic change in my energy, which is what I was expecting to happen. Is I felt like I was going to be groggy until I got my coffee, and that's not been the case. Why is that?
So it's actually interesting. We have something called a cortisol awakening response. So melatonin, which is our sleep hormone, and cortisol most people think of as a stress hormone, but it actually helps us like wake up and have energy as well. So it has some positive benefits to it. They basically have a inverse relationship. So when melatonin goes up, cortisol goes down, and the other way around. So when we wake up, we actually get a natural spike in cortisol, and then it naturally falls throughout the day. Sometimes when people like have their coffee timer set to like be brewed right when they wake up, they start drinking that coffee, and then your body has that natural the energy from the coffee, so it can sometimes blunt people's cortisol awakening response. So we're actually designed to wake up and have energy and not necessarily need the caffeine.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. So I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but there's this pandemic over the last couple of years, or it feels like. We're in a phase right now where we're hearing a lot. I mean, there's still, I did not realize even in our town of Charlotte here how many people are still working remotely. I guess I've just been too disconnected from it. But I was at a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and they were like, yeah, this entire building is a 30-story building, completely empty. Not a single soul has been in there since April of 2020. I was okay.
Yeah.
And apparently that's the case in all of downtown Charlotte. But anyways, I was reading a report a couple of weeks ago that a lot of companies are saying that they're going to start having a return to the office at the end of August, sometime around Labor Day, all of those things, right? So that's coming in line right now. We're just making an announcement the other day about kids returning to school and things happening there. All of that's happening. So it's the summertime has been here. Things have kind of, been a little different, and now we're going to be back returning to the office and returning to school. How does health, obviously, and nutrition rather, how does nutrition play into either building our immune system or helping to protect against the viruses that are going to be spread around, if it's the different variants of the coronavirus or anything else that's going to be out there? How can we utilize nutrition to help give us that barrier?
Okay, so do you know where most of your immune system is housed?
I don't know anything about nutrition. Okay. I did not pay attention to any of this stuff.
So most of our immune system is actually housed in our gut. And when we look at our gut, we have trillions of cells of bacteria. And it's good bacteria for the most part, but there is also some not so good bacteria. But that bacteria actually helps fight things off. Okay. And so when we have a healthy gut, it basically boosts our entire immune system. So things like eating fermented foods, things like kombucha, which is my personal favorite.
Kimchi.
Kimchi is a great one. Sauerkraut.
Some of on a bratwurst.
Yeah. People, whenever I ask people if they like sauerkraut, they usually say like if it's on a hot dog. Yeah. I'm like, oh, okay.
No, on a sausage or a bratwurst with a pretzel bun. I mean, it's
yes. Hey, you're still getting the probiotics in. And even things like yogurt or pickles, those things are fermented, and when we ferment, basically it increases bacteria and yeast, and so that can actually help colonate our guts with that good bacteria.
Okay, so eat more kimchi. Pickles?
Pickles, yep.
Interesting. Yogurt. So like a Greek yogurt or just any yogurt, period?
Yep, any yogurt.
Okay, interesting. And then more brats and kraut.
Yeah.
Can you copy this key? That's a question we get asked about 3,422 times a year. And how can you actually be sure that the person who asked that question is supposed to get a copy of that key? Well, we think you should always know who can copy your keys to your business and your home, because it could be your neighbor, an old employee, a contractor, or even worse, your mother-in-law. At Loc-Doc Security, we believe in protected key systems, so you always know who has a copy of your key. To find out more, visit locdoc.net or stop by our Charlotte location. Loc-Doc Security, helping you protect your people and your property.
So once we have the bacteria in our digestive tract, we want to make sure that it's staying there and it's staying fed and healthy.
Okay.
And what actually feeds our gut bacteria is fiber. And so if we look at where fiber comes from, it goes back to those whole foods. So our whole grains, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, that will keep the bacteria basically thriving. And then just trying to consume a balanced diet so that your body has everything that it needs to do all of the jobs throughout the day, including support your immune system.
Okay, so more fermented foods and drink kombucha with it. There's a lot of people that enjoy kombucha.
Yeah.
I've never really been a big fan of it.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I've had a few that I'm like, okay, but then I'm like, eh.
Yeah. It's I started brewing my own because
naturally.
Yes, because I love it, and there are some brands that are a little bit pungent.
My wife made some kombucha,
Yeah.
and then it exploded in our entire kitchen. Did she?
Everyone has a kombucha explosion. So.
Yeah. So, but that was the second time. She also made a French press one time in our kitchen, and it exploded the French press.
Okay.
So we just have things exploding.
Yeah.
Anyways, I don't know how I got off on that. So fermented foods, kombucha, those types of things. So give us some good application for the other stuff you were talking about, whole grain. Mm-hmm.
So those will give us the fiber that helps our gut. And then when we look at fruits and vegetables, the colors that are in the fruits and vegetables typically correlate with vitamins or minerals or antioxidants. Mm-hmm. And so something that you can do to just optimize your health and your immune system is to try to eat the rainbow. So think about your foods that are red, orange, yellow, green, purple, and blue, and try to incorporate those throughout the day or throughout the week.
Okay. That's an easy way to think about that. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go back to the grains.
Yeah.
Give me some, as I don't know what you're talking about when you
With
say
whole
grains.
grains?
Yeah.
So whole grain bread.
Everybody that's listening is like, what is this guy, an idiot? Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, so whole grain is basically like when they take the wheat plant. When we have white bread, they strip the fiber off of it. So like all of our grains are like this, mm-hmm. and it has the starch in the inside. Mm-hmm. For white versions, like white rice, white bread, white pasta, they just take the inside out, and it's softer. People, I think, like the flavor better just because it's what we're used to. Mm-hmm. But when we look at whole grains, it still has everything attached to it, like the hull. Mm-hmm. And that hull is where the fiber comes from. And so when we eat a piece of whole grain bread, mm-hmm. our stomach has to work to pull that fiber apart so that we can get to the starch. And so when that happens, we're getting like a trickle of sugar into our bloodstream. Whereas if we eat a slice of white bread, our body doesn't have to do that much work, and it can kind of just dump all that sugar into our bloodstream, and that's when our blood sugar spikes and then drops.
So brown rice,
quinoa, whole wheat bread, whole wheat pasta is another good one. Oats or oatmeal. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of other grains, amaranth, buckwheat. So what you want to look for, we were talking about looking at the ingredients, mm-hmm. is when you flip the grains over, mm-hmm. you want to see the first ingredient, whole grain something, whether it's whole grain wheat, whole grain rye.
Interesting. Okay. That's an easy fix.
Yeah.
I mean, so you're getting your kimchi on mm-hmm. brown rice now.
Yep.
Instead of white rice.
Yep.
Totally solved a bunch of problems.
Yeah.
Okay. With bratwurst on it.
Yeah, there you go. Get some protein in there.
All right. So definitely some things to be mindful of when we're talking about boosting your immune system, because then you get a lot of value out of that long term. So talking mm-hmm. about your gut health. Okay. Which I've heard you say gut health so much that now it's starting to make sense. Mm-hmm. It's starting to click with me because I'm not very bright when it comes to those types of things. Resources for people that are like, hey, where can I find more information out about this if I want to read more about it? Since there are 50 million different mm-hmm. search results out there for all of this stuff, it's less about, and maybe I don't want to put words in your mouth. What I'm hearing you say is it's less about the diet and more about the fundamentals and understanding the fundamentals and how it applies to you as an individual. Mm-hmm. A nutritionist can help you figure that out.
Right.
But understanding those components, like what does whole grain mean, mm-hmm. would be a beneficial component. What are some resources that people can utilize for that? So
if people are searching online, I would encourage people to look at websites that like have .org at the end. So I know we learned that in like middle school when we're doing research. But the problem with the internet is that anyone can say whatever they want to. And mm-hmm. I think it's great that people share their own success. But if they're not educated in nutrition, they might not understand that everyone is different. Yeah. So the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics is a really good resource. And then what's the other really good one? Really any of like the government ones, you can find like actual research on it, or just looking at where the research is coming from. So if there's no links and there's no like stats on it mm-hmm. and no research, then I would be a little bit, I would question it a little bit. So one of the things that I want to kind of draw a conclusion on here, because this is,
we talked a lot about nutrition as it affects burnout, nutrition as it affects employee satisfaction, all of those types of things. Understanding how you can improve your gut health. Okay, I'm going back to this because and maybe it's just something fundamental that we started at the very beginning, but I'm just kind of glazed over. The importance of working with a nutritionist or someone that has the ability to help you develop a meal plan or some healthy habits that you can easily apply. Because I think that's, I'm just processing all this stuff, and I'm trying to have a takeaway here as well that's practical maybe for everybody as well, is the hardest part about maintaining a healthy lifestyle and nutrition is making those decisions, right? So it's 6 a.m., waking up, I've got to get food in my body, I've got to get moving, and I grab the fastest, easiest thing, right? So now going back to make it easy to do the right thing and difficult to do the wrong thing is understanding, having a plan to follow. So kind of a plan to follow for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. Because I think if I were to go back in through my mental process of choosing food, when you're tired, when you're worn out, and you're stressed or whatever, you're not like, oh, I should probably think through this and choose these good options. I'm just like, get food now.
Yes.
And so you make poor decisions. So having a predetermined plan is going to help you stay on track.
Yes, and I always say if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Do you get that?
You always say that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Because it's true, especially with food. Because you're absolutely right, and especially when people get really hungry, our brain is literally telling us like eat something, like it on repeat. And when we look at what's the most energy dense, it's high fat foods, and what's going to give us energy the fastest, high in carbs. And so that's what people gravitate towards, even though that might not be the most balanced. Yeah,
we had this situation last night. I came home and I was like, I'm really hungry. I need food. I'm really hungry. And then an hour and a half later, I was like, I am starving and I'm about to do something bad. So let's just get some food. And bad decisions were made. So I don't really want to talk about it at this point. But it's very true. Having that plan already in place, you don't have to think about it. And anytime that you make that plan, it's great. So get a hold of a nutritionist and somebody that can help you make a plan.
Yes.
And it takes all the guesswork out of it.
Yep.
All right. If they want to get in contact with you or your organization, what do they need to do?
So you can visit us at tntgetfit.com, or my email is dahlia@tntgetfit. And I'm also on Instagram, Dahlia the Dietitian, and the spaces are underscores.
And as part of that, you can just DM you pictures of your food and you can say if it's good or not.
Yeah, I always put like who has what questions about nutrition. I try to answer them because I think there is a lot of confusion.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, Dahlia. You have provided lots of information, some great takeaways for today. Make sure you're getting a plan. If you don't have a plan, you're planning to fail, and it will make life a lot easier, especially when you're trying to get nutrition in order. Some great return on the investment of introducing healthy habits to your organization and to your team. So thank you very much for the insights today. If you haven't heard it already or haven't watched the episode, we'll have a link below about our water challenge that we've been doing here at Loc-Doc Security and the way that we've structured that. And maybe it's an idea that you can use to implement inside of your organization as well. So be sure to check that link out. But in the meantime, make sure you subscribe if you haven't. Visit locdoc.net/podcast for more information. And we'll see you next time right here on the Coffee Break Podcast.